Hello, fellow movie crusaders, and welcome to our latest episode. My name is Sean Waskrug. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. And today we are doing kind of a three-review film, or movies here, but our main review is going to be Alien Romulus. We're doing a non-spoiler and then a spoiler discussion. But before we jump into Alien Romulus, we did have two other movies pop up on streaming that came out this week. We had Jackpot, starring Awkwafina and John Cena on Prime. And then we had The Union, starring Mark Wahlberg and Halle Berry on Netflix. Brian, which one would you like to start
on? Let's start with The Union.
All right, go ahead.
So The Union is a movie that I was actually kind of looking forward to because Halle Berry, I've actually really enjoyed when she gets into action, whether it be in when she was in one of the John Wick movies. She did a movie last year called year to go with MMA one called Bruise. It's like she really handles action well, and I like her as an actress as well. Mark Wahlberg, he's kind of gone into wanting to do a lot more family films and inspirational things and things like that. So I was happy to see him kind of come back and do another action film. Was looking forward to this one. The result is it's okay. It's like I actually liked the performances. Mark Wahlberg was fine. I really liked Halle Berry in it. I really liked J.K. Simmons in it. I would have liked to have seen a lot more of Adewale, however you pronounce his name, and Jackie
Earle Haley.
Yeah. Those two, I really like those, but they were like barely in the movie. But as much as I like the individual performance of those main characters, I just found the whole thing to be like instantly forgettable. It's like I watched the movie and at the end I'm like, wait, what was that? What was that about? What happened in that movie? And I don't know. I think a large part of it is because the action had that very like hollow Netflix action feel to it. But again, there was nothing outright bad about it. It just wasn't great. It was fine for sitting down and watching a streaming movie for 2 hours on Netflix. It just is nothing that's going to make my end of the year lists or anything.
So what score did you end up giving it?
I ended up giving it I think I actually gave it a 2.5. I toyed with a 3, but I ended up going 2.5.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I literally, while you were talking, you're saying that it was quite forgettable. I was like, yeah, it reminds me of that other Mark Wahlberg movie. I was like, what the fuck is it? I had to go look it up real quick. Where it was like, had loads of potential. But by the end of it, you're like, that was just kind of a waste of time, which was Infinite. Which I was like, that had potential to be something cool. Had actors we liked in it. Mm-hmm. But just by the end of it, it was like, this was just kind of bland. And The Union was kind of the same way. I had no problem with the performances of anyone in the movie. I think Wahlberg was fine. I think Halle Berry, in spite of her annoying hairdo in this movie, her hair, I love her with short hair, but her hair.
I actually like the hairdo. I hated that she had to keep constantly taking that out of her
face. It was always in her face. It was just like, come on, girl.
And then there's one scene on like a bridge or something where it's just like doing its own thing.
Yeah, did this. And I was just like, I get
so you guys want to test and take it that one, maybe? Is that
yeah, it's like I get we're doing like a thing where it's like, well, in real life hair is not perfect, but it's like, no, but it's not supposed to be like a fucking mohawk flock of seagulls kind of thing going. But her hair,
mohawk. There you go.
She's one of the few actresses that can pull off long and short hair, and I actually kind of prefer her with short hair. But this hairstyle, like I was watching it with my girlfriend, I'm like, her hairstyle is annoying the fuck out of me. She goes, it's annoying me too. But they were fine. I didn't necessarily buy their chemistry at all in the whole fucking movie. Like I was just never like, and that's all the things. Like they were supposed to buy that they're like former high school sweethearts. They love each other, and they keep trying to tease like they're gonna kiss at some point, but they never fucking do. And it's like, is there something in the contract that they didn't want to do that with each other? Like, did they not get along on set? And like, because there's been movies like there was like, why didn't they kiss? Well, it was because they fucking couldn't stand each other on set. But yeah, I never really bought into their relationship. I liked the crew that they had. J.K. Simmons was solid. Jackie Earle Haley, I immediately got excited because I feel like I haven't seen him in forever. And same with Ottawa. What the fuck? I'm gonna butcher his name.
I just call him Adewale. That's his first name.
Okay, well, I wanted to say Adewale, but I feel like that was wrong.
Baje or something like that. I don't even pronounce
him. I immediately went, I know this guy, and then I looked at him like, fuck, of course I do. Oh my god, I haven't seen him in like a decade. And then they just disappeared into the third act because like we're watching the final like act, and I'm like, where the fuck is Jackie Earle Haley and Adewale? Like, they should be in this point. They should be like Ving Rhames and fucking Simon Pegg in Mission Impossible. Like, that's who they're basically playing in this fucking movie. And then the third act comes and they're just gone. And then they set up this like kind of like little story with him and his mom. You know, like she seems to always know everything, but then like they go and do this wedding thing at the end. It's like, well, his mom should be there. No. And it's like, what was the whole point of this the mom character from Mark? What was like, it was just like they just the whole plot points that they were setting up through the whole fucking movie. Granted, not huge subplots, but still enough to be like, well, where the fuck's this? Where's it? And they just went away with it. And I also just don't buy when movies are like, hey, we're just going to take this schlub off the street who has no prior things, and in 2 weeks, he's going to be a fucking super spy.
2 weeks.
That's like, I don't care that it's Mark Wahlberg. No, he's a construction worker. Like, he shouldn't be able to pull off the fucking Italian job in this movie and have, like, picture-perfect, like, fucking shooting ability in a span of 2 weeks. I don't care how much practice.
It's like the Fast and the Furious crew that can take out whole, mercenaries and professional crews.
No, you guys drove cars and stole DVDs. And did, like, you're not all of a sudden, like, espionage, like, top two. Only these people can do it. No, I'm pretty sure there's, like, a fucking 1,000 other people that could do the job that Vin Diesel and all them do. The Rock, no. But Vin, yeah, this is...
Yeah.
But anyway,
the mom, I thought it was odd because they randomly have Lorraine Bracco, who I haven't seen in decades at this point. She's playing his mom. And the really strange one with me was, well, the character and the actress. They brought back Dana Delaney to play his old English teacher or something that he's seen with the beginning scene, which was like had nothing to do with anything.
And not to mention, it does the typical cliche where you're watching the movie and in the first scene everything goes wrong, and I go, I bet you $5 that's the person that's the bad guy.
Yep.
And I'm not gonna say who it is, obviously, because I was just like, I guarantee you. I was like,
from scene one of this movie.
Oh,
I'm like, okay, I know where this is going.
I was like, he didn't get headshot. Everyone else got headshot. He did not get a headshot. He's not dead. And then he shows him like, well, fuck it, of course. Now, granted, I really like that actor and a lot of other things. He wasn't that great in this. But yeah,
I didn't dislike him in this. It was just.
He was fine. It's just. I felt like he almost felt like
I was more just annoyed by the predictability of it all.
Yeah, exactly. It just felt like he was kind of in a different movie at certain times, a little bit, but not to the point where it deterred from it. It was just like I said, I was just more annoyed. I was like, you could have done so much more with this guy, and you really didn't. But yeah, it's not awful. It's not gonna be like on my worst, like you said. I gave it 2.5 as well. I gave it a 51%.
No, they're clearly trying to set up a franchise, but I don't see them making any more.
Oh no, this is definitely not getting sequels. This is one of those like Infinite, where it's like you watched it, you're like, I mean, it was under 2 hours, but I kind of wish I had my hour 45 minutes back because I just didn't care enough about the characters. And it's like I liked everyone in it, but the story didn't do much to grab me on it. So 2.5 for both of us for The Union. Next, let's go to Jackpot on Prime. Now, this was a movie, I think you and I both said this when we watched the trailer. This is either going to be really fucking stupid or it's going to be hilarious. Because Paul Feig, I guess I'm more of a fan of him than you are, because I tend to see that you tend to hate most of his movies. And I tend to be kind of in the middle with him.
I've liked his stuff that's been not really comedy. A Simple Favor I liked of his. Last Christmas, which was, had some comedic elements, but it wasn't comedy. I like Last Christmas, things like that. But his stuff that was outright comedy, I do not tend to like much. Which
I'm about probably 50-60% liking his comedy. A lot of it is just how much Melissa McCarthy are we getting in his movies. And then that depends. Which there's no Melissa McCarthy in this one. Granted, I'm not going to lie. I was talking to my girlfriend when we were watching it. The Jackpot guy.
Murray Hill.
Yes, I was like, is that an actual person or is that someone in makeup? Because I'm not gonna lie, this could be Melissa McCarthy.
I was 100% certain. I was like, oh fuck, here's Melissa McCarthy in drag.
Yes,
because, dressed up as a man.
And we looked it up, and that's a real person.
Yeah.
And
granted, it is a trans man, so that's why we kind of got that vibe from it.
But
I'm not Melissa McCarthy. I was sure it was. When
that camera's on him, like that could easily be Melissa McCarthy in makeup. And I was like, there it is. It was like, oh, no, it's not. Because I paused Prime. I pulled up the X-ray. And I was like, oh, no, that's a real person. I was like could have fooled me because I could have sworn that was Melissa McCarthy the whole time. Just by the voice and the look and everything. But what were your thoughts on this? Because I already know where your head's at on this. We have two different opinions.
Two very different opinions.
Apparently, I'm in the minority for this movie because I've seen a lot of people thoughts. I'm in the minority, but I feel like my explanation for this makes it okay compared to what everyone else's thoughts are. But
It's
you go ahead
okay for you. That's why, like I said, to each his own opinion.
Yeah.
For me, this did not work. I wanted so badly like this. The concept I think is hilarious. I think it's a great concept to make an like action comedy about. John Cena. This is right up his alley because we like when he does more comedy. I mean, he does action obviously, but when he tries to do it straight faced, it tends to be a little not great. But when he embraces the comedy of it, he's
right
great.
in
That's his lane.
He's right in Peacemaker mode without going over the top Peacemaker. He's got the
Mhm.
action, he's got the raunchy comedy, but he's got the heart. Whereas with Peacemaker, you kind of had to get to know him a while before you had some heart elements. But like he wasn't like an idiot like he is as Peacemaker. So he was playing that line, I thought, really well in this.
So no, I like him in this movie. His performance is fine. I think the writing for his character, most of the lines of dialogue, some of the things he does, I think the writing in this movie failed kind of for me for most of the movie. Awkwafina, who we've always said, we used to hate her, but she's really kind of proven herself the last several movies.
We always dog on her. Yeah, we always dog on her when we see her in trailers, but then we're always like, you know what? She actually wasn't bad.
But I feel like this time she was kind of almost tipping back into like just annoying Awkwafina again. She didn't dislike quite as much as I used to, but she was kind of definitely teetering that line. But again, I think a lot of it was just like the dialogue and kind of the dumb moment she was given. Simu Liu is fine. Really, the supporting cast, like all the characters around them, like her roommate and these other people that are chasing her, I hated all of them. I thought all of them were annoyingly unfunny. Like it just like nails in the chalkboard listening to them. And because for me, the jokes were all falling flat. I thought the action was so stiffly done. So like anytime there'd be a fight scene, it was just like you'd almost feel them counting out. Okay, 1, now 2, now 3, now 4. It's like it was just really stiffly done. And I think that might be a Paul Feig thing because he doesn't do a whole lot of action. I mean, he did Spy, but I didn't remember that movie because it sucked. But
I disagree on Spy. I really enjoyed Spy.
But I just felt the action was really badly done. So for me, if the action didn't work and the comedy wasn't working, the movie as a whole just didn't work for me. There were a few laughs to be found in it, and like I said, John Cena I think was trying his hardest. Simu is fine. Awkwafina is mostly fine. It was just the movie that they were in, the writing and the story and the dialogue and stuff, and the jokes that didn't work for me. It didn't work.
And what'd you give it?
I gave that one a 2.
A 2. Yeah. And here's the funny
2 stars out of 2%, like he does.
Yeah. Here's the funny thing about what Brian said. I don't disagree with barely anything that you said, but I had a blast watching this. Now, granted, you watched this by yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I watched this with my girlfriend who was having a real shit day. I put this on, A, because I just had to watch it, and B, because I was like, oh, it's a comedy. And she was laughing her ass off, which made me enjoy it more. Now, if I had watched this alone, like you did, maybe I wouldn't have, like, or if, like, that theater experience, having everyone else laugh, you're like, okay, well, maybe it's me. Like, maybe I'm not finding it funny. But then I started to kind of get into it. So I started to enjoy it quite a bit because she was enjoying it. So maybe if I had watched this on my own, maybe I wouldn't have liked it nearly as much or scored it nearly as high. But I watched it with her. She was having a blast. So therefore, I was having a blast watching it. I think Cena is the best part of this movie. I think he, like I say, he's playing that perfect mix that we love John Cena to play. Awkwafina, I don't think she was the problem in the movie. I think especially in the first act, it was the people around her that made her come off annoying because she had to, I don't want to say overact because she wasn't like Kevin Hart in it all over the place, but she had to kind of double down on everything, all her quips and what she had to say because the cast around her was not strong. Because I even admit the first 20 minutes of this movie, I was like, oh God, this is not good. But then again, John Cena wasn't in the movie at that point. But as soon as the lottery thing happens and everything goes to shit on her, the movie to me just becomes enjoyable as hell for me. And I had a blast watching it. Plus, John Cena, a man after my own heart, turtle power, dude. Hell yeah. I was like, I can relate. Yes, like you should have known right there that I was like, as soon as the first thing we see Cena doing is rocking out to the TMNT fucking theme song or the original movie song, I was like, hell yeah. So you had to know right there. I was like, oh, Sean's gonna like this movie because of that. Here's one thing I don't know if you're gonna agree with me on, but as I was watching this, and I'm not saying in terms of caliber, I'm talking about what this movie was doing. I think this is what we both wanted at a Self-Reliance to a point.
Yeah.
That like Self-Reliance was like, oh, it's going to be zany and crazy.
Yeah, this one might have gone a little bit. This one might have gone a little bit too cartoony, but I definitely would have preferred the comedy versus the very almost mostly serious version that we got there.
Depressing ass like mental anguish that Self-Reliance was, because all the time watching it was like, oh my god, if this was what Self-Reliance was like with those people, with Anna Kendrick and
Jake Johnson.
Sorry, I would say Nick Johnson. And Jake, I was like, we would have loved Self-Reliance so much more if it was taking a little bit of a piece out of this. But yeah, I thought the chemistry between Cena and Awkwafina was great. I thought they bounced off each other really, really fucking well. But the reason why I really enjoy this movie, in spite of everything that Brian said, which I don't disagree, the cast around the three, because Simu Liu was fine. And it was nice to get him and Awkwafina back, since Shang-Chi is like, well, yeah, in this one they're enemies, but they were best friends. And then adding Cena, I thought all three of them were solid in the film. But yes, the rest of the cast around them is not great. But why does Sean like this movie compared to Brian, where he has a 2-star? This to me, and this is probably not even anywhere where Paul Feig was going with this, but I felt it while watching it. This was very much a throwback 90s kind of film. As I'm watching this movie, and I'm watching the stiff choreography of everything, I was like, that's kind of like it wasn't like a 90s comedy, like something like that you would have like the big muscly dude, or like, you know, Jackie Chan or something, and like, or the big muscly dude like just pick up and throwing the dude. You can clearly see it's wire working. Or there's one point I think in the third act where he kicks or throws Simu Liu. It's like, well, that's a dummy. I was like, that's not a body.
Some of those stunts were really yeah
exactly, but it felt very throwback. Or like we would see in comedies like Bubble Boy or Pee-wee's Adventure or something like that, where they're meeting all these people and these characters, and then all of a sudden, like in the third act of the very last sequence, all these people who we met in different areas, all for some reason all meet up together, and they're all in this one location. And just like in this one, it's like, well, the fucking security guard wouldn't be there, and all this stuff.
At least they didn't all show up for a musical sequence at the end, like Simple Favor wanted to do.
That's very, very true. But they were all just randomly were showing up into this last sequence. And I was like, okay, that's a very 90s thing. And even much like a lot of 90s movies, the leads are the best actors. Everyone around them are not the best. They're there to try and amplify what's going on, but they're not going to have all-star performances, which once again, this movie just felt like an old 90s throwback movie that I enjoyed watching when I was younger. So while I can see the bad in this movie, it didn't deter from me from enjoying the hour 45 minutes that I spent with these characters. I think the concept was unique and fun. I'm not to the point that we wish it was in Self-Reliance and not necessarily this movie. And yeah, I just had a fun time watching it. Me and the girlfriend both had a fun time watching it. And shockingly enough, I liked it enough to give it a 76%. Because I had a fun time watching it. It's something much like a dumb 90s comedy or action comedy from the 90s, where if this was on TV on like TBS or TNT or whatever, I'd have it on and I'd watch it. I might be doing other shit while I'm watching it, but I would stop at certain points and laugh like that was a good line. Like I remember the first time I think I busted a gut watching this was when she broke Cena's nose and he like snapped back in and he was like cussing up a storm because how much it was in pain. And I was like, okay, like that. I haven't laughed that loudly in a while because John Cena is just funny. But yeah, I had fun with this. I really enjoyed it. I definitely was not expecting to like this. I expected it to like I said, either suck or be good. And I already had seen Brian's score at the time, so I was like, okay, well, I was like, I gotta watch it. And by the end of it, I was like, I must be in the minority because everyone seems to hate this movie, but me and the girlfriend had a fun time watching it. But like I said, I look at it as that throwback, so it worked for me in that respect. But yeah, that is on Prime right now. Now let's go to our main event, the movie, the real reason we're here. Alien Romulus. This was on Brian and I's most anticipated list throughout the entire year. We're both fans of the Alien and Predator universe. We're both fans of Fede Alvarez's direction with Evil Dead and was it 2013, I think it was. And then Don't Breathe. I still have not seen the second Don't Breathe. Is it worth seeing?
I like. I mean, he only wrote, and I don't know if he wrote it. He just produced it, but he didn't direct it.
You
But
didn't direct that one?
no, but I
Oh,
enjoyed it. It's one of those things where it's like, a little far fetched. First of all, that he's even in it. That they try to
and then
turn the
he's like,
villain into they try to turn the villain into the hero.
that was my problem why I didn't want to see it, because I was like, no, like that character was perfectly well done in the first movie. I don't want to watch him all of a sudden be a good guy.
But I still enjoyed the movie for what it was.
Okay. But the main thing I think you and I were both excited about was that with Fetty being the director of this, was like, we're going to get an alien movie that's going to closely resemble the first Alien film, which was a sci-fi horror, because he's so good at like that cringy body horror stuff. And Alien 90% of the time is body horror. Face hugger, chest burst, face is getting cascaded in by the xenomorph's mouth. This is the perfect guy to direct this. You added an actress that we both like with oh god, I'm blanking on her name. Is it Isabella Merced?
Isabella Merced. Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if Isabella was right. I gotta ask you this because I can't remember if I asked you this. What is your deal with Callie Spaney? Why don't you like her?
I just have not. It's just one of those things where it's like it feels like they're trying to push her as like the next great actress of her generation, and because she's just showing up in everything. And I've not enjoyed anything she's been in. I didn't like Civil War.
You liked her in, or you liked Bad Times at the El Royale?
I liked the movie in spite of her. She was just kind of she is fine.
In spite of her.
And then she's gone and done much like A24 type movies and things, which is never going to get my attention. But it's just one of those things where it's like I hate when they're trying to really push an actress, and especially when they put something like she's in the lead, and like I really would have preferred to see Isabella in the lead. I would like to see her lead this movie, but
okay. Let me give you a Sophie's choice. I think I already know where your head's going to go because of the obvious reasons. If you had to choose between her or Sydney Sweeney. For performance, not looks.
For performance, Kaylee Spaney.
Okay. I was gonna say, it's like looks, yes, you're probably gonna go Sydney
Sweeney.
Well,
but even Sydney Sweeney, I don't think is as hot as a lot of people seem to think she is.
I don't think she is either. But I mean, her performances.
But her performance is not great.
The only thing I think I've ever actually liked her partially in is Anyone But You, but that's because you got Glenn Powell opposite you. Yeah, it's hard to hate anyone next to Glenn Powell. But yeah, so Alien Romulus. That was the kind of the big deter that you had, was that Kaylee Spaney was the lead, and not a deter.
It was more just like, I don't love the lead, but whatever.
But yeah, so we're going non-spoiler here, and then once we get the non-spoiler stuff out, we're gonna go to the spoiler. So because there's some stuff that we really want to dig into that we just cannot do with non-spoiler. I'll go first since I made you go the first two times. I think there's a lot of potential to like in this movie. But then there's other aspects that I felt like they were trying to forcibly call back on things. Now, the one thing I liked, or there were a lot of things that people are getting pissed off about, is not something that I'm not pissed off about. And
I'll cover that in the spoiler section, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the spoiler section. But I'm seeing people like, this is egregious. No, it's really fucking not. If anything, I thought it was actually one of the highlights of the movie. It's one of the times where this particular situation, I think, worked in its favor. Because I actually liked that. I was like, at first I was like, I don't know. But I was like, you know what? This is working for me. This is actually working for me. And we'll touch more on it in the spoiler. The third act, though, they decide to call back to probably one of the worst Alien films in all the Aliens movies. I think it actually is my least favorite Alien film.
They're kind of calling back to two of them. But,
they're calling back to all of the movies. All the Alien movies.
I meant that last act is kind of calling back to two different movies at once. Yeah.
Yeah. And I almost want to say, it was like, if you're going to do it, I would have almost rather had you do the full-fledged callback to what you were trying to intend there. Because I think we gave a lot of shit to what happened in that movie. But I was like, I would have rather have had that design than what we got for this. Because I hated what they did in this final act. Oh my, I'm just sitting there in the theater going, oh my God, you were doing so well. And then you just fucked up this whole ending. It doesn't make me hate the movie. If anything, it's one of the better Alien films. Not a high bar, because a lot of Alien movies have potential and then fucking falter. And this one kind of has that point as well. I think the cast, I thought Isabella Merced is completely wasted in this film. She could have been given so much more in this because she's basically playing like the pregnant girl. and she spends most of the time asleep or unconscious or screaming. And I felt like, if anything, make her the co-lead, which I guess she kind of is, but she definitely doesn't have the screen time that Callie has. I thought Callie was fine in the film. I had no problem with Callie in her role. I thought she did a solid job in this. I was I actually really enjoyed David, is it Jonathan? I was not prepared to like him, but it was about halfway through the film. I was like, you know what? This guy's killing this role. Like, he's playing an android. But I'm not going to lie. I am really fucking liking his performances. Everyone else, that was another problem too, is that I was immediately worried when they only had 5 people in the movie. So I'm like, well, shit, there's not going to be many deaths. There's not going to be many xenomorph actions things in this. So there's only 5 people in this movie, and there isn't. The main characters, or the main.
I think back to the first Alien, there's only like what 6, 7 people in the crew.
Yeah, but at least we got multiple alien deaths in that movie. The main bad guy in this movie is not the xenomorph. It's the fucking facehuggers. But the facehuggers get their fucking due. They are awesome in this movie. Fede Alvarez knows what is the most disgusting part of a facehugger. It basically is it's sticking its, I don't want to call it its penis, but it definitely looks like it, and he's gonna, I'll make sure it's flapping around in their mouths and all this stuff. You're making him go every time it happens. But you know what? The facehuggers were the most terrifying part of this movie, and not the xenomorph, which I appreciate, but at the same time, this motherfucker's terrifying. And he's not the scariest part of this movie. He's not even the main bad in this movie. I don't know how I felt about that. How did you feel about that?
I will agree with you. I think the facehuggers were done really well, because I think that, especially when you look back at the older films, they were limited by technology of what they could do with the facehuggers, but now with a kind of perfect CGI kind of stuff, they had those things scurrying and jumping and flying and all kinds of stuff, and especially when you had like swarms of them instead of just one of them, I thought it was really effective.
Oh, yeah, that whole sequence, which is kind of in the trailer, it was like, oh shit.
As far as the xenomorphs, in the form behind you, I think they were maybe slightly underused. I don't think I was disappointed by it at all. Because taking a sideline, going on the sideline to go into the third act, we'll get into that. But I thought that when they were on screen, I really enjoyed the scenes that they had, the xenomorphs.
They felt to me very much like a bridge character or a bridge boss from facehuggers to inevitably what we got. And that to me was kind of a problem for me. That was something that I felt was a huge missed opportunity. It's like, how do you not utilize one of the most terrifying aliens in movie history? They're not really a threat in the movie. They're a threat in one scene, and then the way they got out of it, you either love it or you fucking hate it. We'll talk more about it. But the other problem with it is too, is with the crew. Outside of Andy, which was the android, did you really give a flying fuck if any of them survived? Did you care?
Well, only Isabella, but that's only because I like her. But
I'm talking about the characters, not the actors. The characters.
But as far as the characters,
I was really decent job.
It was kind of like the movie started, and it's like, okay, I know which ones are just fodder for kills, and which ones are actually going to be like the final people.
What also doesn't help that you literally see the death of one of them in the trailer, so we already know how one dies, and it's like, okay, cool. So we only got 4 people left, or 3 people and an android left, and it's like, okay, and so. I didn't care. While Callie's performance was fine.
Honestly, one of them we wanted to die. So
it was like, but I didn't care about if she lived or died. I didn't care about Isabella either, because they didn't give me a reason to care about her living or dying in the film, or the other two, the 2 guys, which that one dude, I hated.
I'm saying the one we wanted him to die. So
yeah, but I'm saying the one we wanted to die. He was so over the top, just asshole to be an asshole.
But at least though, they gave us an explanation for it. It doesn't forgive everything, but it like.
But this is my problem with it. It's a throwaway line given for context off to the corner, so you have a reason for it. Which it's like, that's a show me, don't tell me kind of thing. I would much rather have him talk at Andy for the reason why he hates that, to give that guy some fucking passion of a performance than just, hey, you're an asshole the whole fucking movie. Than having a character who's not even in the same room with them go, oh yeah, he's like this because of blah blah blah. It's like, no, have him explain that. Or that one moment when, and it's mini spoiler, but it's not like detrimental. When Andy saves him at that one moment from the hole in the ground, you know, him still go, it still doesn't, you know, he could have had that moment where it's like, it still doesn't mean anything. And just giving him that moment to fucking have an acting performance there, to give that character just a little bit of levity.
Yeah.
And even then, even that, you know, like I say, he's just a prick the whole fucking way through. But when Fetty was on, I think aesthetically, I think it hit the right tone for the Alien franchise. Had its scary elements, had its scary moments. It didn't go full on James Cameron sci-fi action, which is a, you know, depending on who you are, you either love that or you hate that because you want that fun stuff. I liked it. I didn't love it, and it fumbled the end. So for me, I gave it a 75%. So it's still 4-star, but it's just one of those things where I felt like it could have been so much more than what it ended up being. So a slight disappointment for me. Even decent score, but compared to where I expected this movie to be with the two leads and Fetty at the helm, it did not match my expectations. But for you,
so for me, I you know, like I said, I don't love Kaylee Spaney, but I thought that she did fine in it. I really did like Andy, that David Johnson in there. I really enjoyed him. I thought, you know, he started out, he's kind of playing the character one way, and I'm like, okay, this is an interesting take on it. But then, of course, you know, later on, he kind of switched to a whole different version of it, and that kind of adds a little more texture to it, which I think is a lot of fun.
I do have one little beef about him, but I'll wait till spoiler.
Yeah, I think that the setup of it, I thought was really good. Although even it's basically just don't breathe, you know. Like
it
the
is
20-somethings
exactly
go to this, what they think is this abandoned thing, to go rob it, and it turns out there's somebody there. It's gonna
so that way they can move somewhere better. It's
right.
exactly don't breathe.
It's the same thing, but it felt like it took a little while to get going, because I at one point I'm like, okay, we need to kind of get into the action here. But once it did, I think Fede Alvarez is great with suspense and horror and atmosphere. I thought he did a great job of setting it up, especially when the face huggers, and even in the more that were sequences that were more, you know, outright action. I thought those were well done. I think for the most of this movie, it was probably a solid 3.5 stars, maybe even 4 stars at times for me. But that last act was like a solid 2-star for me, and that dragged my score down. So I ended up at a 3.
Gotcha. All right, we're gonna jump into spoilers real fast because we have some things we gotta discuss, and Brian's on a clock here. Yeah, so 3, 2, 1, spoilers. Free reign. Yeah, that fucking third act. Where do you have the third act starting? When they get on the ship, or before or the no gravity stuff?
For me, the third act, the thing I hated was the minute the fucking thing popped up that looked like an engineer human hybrid, whatever the fuck it was.
So basically the last like 15 minutes of the movie for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I agree. That's my third act spot there. There's stuff.
First of all, for me, like when we found out that I think it was Kay, Isabella's character, we find out she's pregnant, and then she ended up like injecting the thing into her, which I wasn't sure what that was if that's gonna be like actually affect her like with an alien, was just gonna affect her baby, what? But even before she injected her, the fact that she was pregnant, I was like, hey, I wonder if like if a face hugger, like, you know, does whatever it does to a pregnant woman, if maybe that's how a queen gets created or something like that. I was like, hey, this is a way they could go with it. They could create a new queen, go from there. Of course, that's not the way they went. Instead, they decided, hey, let's call back to maybe the worst alien movie, which is Prometheus, and bring back the engineers.
Or bring back Alien Resurrection.
And that's what I'm saying. It was kind of a combination between Alien Resurrection. It was like an Alien Resurrection, but with the look of of the engineer from Prometheus, basically, is what it was. And everyone gave Resurrection so much shit for that human alien hybrid thing.
Yeah.
Which I've defended. I don't love that movie. It's definitely in the bottom tier of alien movies, but I've defended that movie. I still like aspects of it. I think people are way too critical of that particular part of it. But these same people are like talking about how much they love the last act of this. I'm like, no, you bunch of fucking hypocrites. Okay, they're doing the exact same thing as this, except they just put an engineer's face on it, which is even worse because that was the stupidest thing in the world.
Well,
So
what's also I hated was that like the whole time it's like
it's got the weird
like
smile,
like,
and then because it still wants to have the alien thing, but now it's like a little tentacle alien thing. It's like
yeah, it reminded me of like the fucking vampires in Blade 2.
Yeah,
with their tongue. I was just like, oh man. Because like when she gives birth to it, I was like, okay, so she gives birth to a xenomorph. Okay, that's fine. And then the thing was like, it's a human. I'm like, oh fuck, where are we going with this? And then like in a span of like a minute, it's like 12 feet fucking tall, and then it's got like this like trap door where its fucking crotch is. And I was like, what the fuck are we doing here? And I'm just like, oh my god, are we seriously gonna do this? And I'm just like,
also,
yeah.
if you inject yourself with Prometheus strain or whatever I forget they called it, why did it only affect your baby? It didn't affect her at all. It only
maybe because I don't think it gave her enough time to be affected by it. Because if you watch the mouse, it took a while for it to turn into a xenomorph. See, what I thought they were gonna do, which I would have liked better for this, because it made it seem like because she was injured, that they're like, hey, we got to go back to the colony thing that we were at. And what I thought we were going to get was that she injects herself, they take her back there because they got to get her fixed. And because she injects herself, a xenomorph was going to come out. And then that was going to be the location from Alien 2 where they go to that colony and it's infected with xenomorphs. Remember? And when I was like, oh, is this how Alien 2?
Well, you know, that crossed my mind, although they had already named the colony they were at, and it was not the same one from Aliens. So
I don't remember the LV, fuck, whatever number it is. So I wouldn't have picked up on that. I figured that that's what they were. I was like, ooh, that's a good tie-in to Aliens or to Aliens. But they didn't do that. Instead, we get this fucking horrifically stupid engineer resurrection baby. Which, once again, I would say, if you're gonna do this, I would have much rather taken Alien Resurrection's baby. Because at least that had like a xenomorph head and like an 8-foot body. Not the best, but still way fucking better than what this thing was.
Yeah.
A lot of people are pissed off by the cameo, which I won't even call it a cameo. He's in the movie for a good chunk of the fucking bit. But having
Ian Holm.
What's that?
Ian Holm, Rook.
Yeah, Ian Holm, Bilbo Baggins, who plays Rook from the first film. They do Ian Holm passed away 4 years ago, so we're going to AI his face on there, and he's going to be there. And a lot of people are like, this was egregious. It's like, no, motherfucker. If you're going to do it, you did it with the right fucking character. He's a fucking android. This actually works perfectly. And I'm not going to lie. His character was one of the most interesting aspects of this fucking film. I thought this is one of the few times that I thought this thing worked to a fucking T. Agree? Disagree?
Well, first of all, I guarantee you that they got the blessing of Ian Holm's family.
Absolutely, they did.
Absolutely, they did. So people who are thinking some kind of moral objection to it, fuck off.
No, it's everyone who wants to hate on AI and all that shit, and it's like
I personally have no moral objection to it. I don't have any objection to the concept of the deep faking faces or everything like that.
Yeah.
If anything, I felt that it was unnecessary to have the Ian Holmes face because you could have still found a synthetic, and it could have been and it didn't have to look the same as the previous synthetic. It could have looked like it could have been Lance Henriksen. It could have just been some other random person. It could have been
even if it was Lance Henriksen, they would have still had to de-age the shit out of him for it.
Yeah. But for me, it's like it didn't need to be Ian Holmes. So it's kind of just there only to be like a callback, which again, I didn't hate it on any idealistic grounds or anything like that. I just found it a little bit unnecessary and a little bit distracting because while it was done okay, it was still not quite right, and it was kind of like it was just a little bit distracting at times. Now,
I would be more egregious to it if he was playing a live person and not an android.
Right now, as far as the character, I think I agree. I think it's one of the most interesting characters, and I thought the way he interacted with Andy and the way he kind of played into the whole overarching plot of the thing, I really enjoyed that. So I had a problem with the character. Like I said, I don't object to them doing it. I just didn't know if it was necessary. and worth the headaches of all the people who are like losing their shit about it. But those people are just oversensitive.
I could tell you what was not necessary was the get away from her, you bitch. And I'm just like, oh, dude, no, that was not needed. First off, the Andy character never would have said that. I get that he hesitated to say it. To me, that was the cringiest fucking line of that whole fucking movie. If people want to get mad about something in this film, get mad about the alien baby and that forced ass line. That was so fucking forced. I hated everything about that. And I was just
here's
like,
the thing: if this had taken place after Aliens instead of between the two, if this takes place after Aliens and you know,
we're like 40 years.
And Bishop had been in this movie, and he had said it because he's purposely calling it. He heard somebody say this, so he's going to say it too. Then it makes sense. It makes no sense for him to just randomly say this exact same line. It's just like, ugh.
It's. I hated that so fucking much.
Yeah.
What did you think of the 0G fight?
It's an interesting idea, but I just feel like just the aliens become flying at them and they'd shoot them and then the blood would just like stop there and float, and that's not how it works. There's still inertia. It's still the blood
like, there's no way she wouldn't still get fucking torched by the
because it's not like you shoot it and then everything just freezes where it is. It's like you shoot it and the stuff keeps moving with the same force it was. It just doesn't stop. It just doesn't. There's no gravity. But
I mean, you can't avoid it.
Around, and then when gravity came back on, it would fall through and burn through shit. It's like
which it did. Though.
It's a fun concept. It's just one you have to not think too much about.
Well, because it's like one of those things where it's like, because we had the one xenomorph, and I'm like, okay, so it's like Alien. There's just one, but then they find the nest, and there's all these bodies. I'm like, okay, so where the fuck are the other aliens? And then we see them all, and I'm like, okay, I'm glad that there's other ones in this, but at the same time, you mean to tell me that they've been on this ship for that fucking long and they never ran into one, or one of them never came across them? That I don't buy. Because there's no way all those xenomorphs were just hanging out in a fucking room chilling until one of them stumbled on. It's like, no, there's like 20 of these fuckers in the ship. They would have been on them. No, especially with the face huggers. They would have been on them in no fucking time flat. But also, in terms of the deaths, the boyfriend, Taylor, whatever the fuck the kid's name is, don't tease like you're gonna shoot the fucking aliens because you know you're gonna die and then not fucking do it. First off, either drop the damn gun to them or fucking blow them away. Don't make the eye contact like you're gonna do it and then just scream at the alien and fucking die. Because at least you could have taken some out with you. But his character was pointless. The death of the asshole guy, I was like, really? You're going to die via acid? Like, I wouldn't care if we had, 10 plus people in the movie we got some serious deaths to. But to die that way, I felt was a waste of a death. Because that was the big problem. It's like, the xenomorph doesn't get to really play in this movie. It gets one kill, and then it's just bullet fodder for the 0G scene. It's really not utilized to its full potential. The face huggers are overutilized in the best way. But the xenomorphs are wasted in this film. They are utterly wasted. Not to mention, Andy is probably, you breathe on Andy, he will malfunction. Because when that alien just knocked him down, I was like, oh, that wasn't that hard of a hit. He'll get back up. I was like, dude, get the fuck up. God, for an android, you are like a fucking android from or like an iPhone 1, where if you breathe on that fucker, it's going to explode. Get the fuck up. That was my one problem with Andy. It's like, dude, you trip over air, and she's going to have to come and reboot your fucking ass. But
I did like though when they took Rook's whatever chip or whatever and added to him, and he is completely transformed. And I liked that transformation on him.
I even love the aspect when he put it in his neck and he went into for moment, and then shit's happening. You're like, that. Now, granted, if you were a person, you're stuck. That's terrifying. But knowing that he's the only way to get you out, and they don't know what's happening, and because all these fucking face huggers are in hot pockets, and they're about to burst the fuck out, and here he is this the whole time. I was like, that's a good horror sequence right there.
Yeah.
like I said, there's some really good shit here, but there's like stuff that just doesn't, either wasn't fully fledged out or just fucking didn't work. Do you think that we will get a sequel?
Absolutely, we will.
With Kaylee Spaney and no, Isabella died, so it'd just be Kaylee and potentially Andy. So, but you do think we will get a sequel with that?
I feel like we absolutely will. I think that I think that it was purely going to be based on the success of this movie, and it's already had a big opening weekend, and it's gotten a lot of good, reviews, things like that. I think it's going to make some decent money. So I feel like we will get another one. Now I don't know if that's for sure because they're already talking about how the series Alien Earth or whatever.
Yeah.
That we all knew was coming, but now they just announced a cast for it, which is nobody I recognize, but it's coming out like next year or something like that. And I think it's just starting to film. But I think that this one did well enough that they will try to continue it. They kind of feel like this is a new rejuvenation of the series. But then again, we kind of felt like, hey, they finally, got Predator back on track with Prey, and we've heard nothing about another one of that yet. So who knows? I
mean, we've heard the director talk about what he wants to do, but they haven't greenlit.
Done anything like what the studio's going to let them do.
Exactly. Honestly, if I was Fetty, because did Fetty write this or did he just direct it?
I can let you know. I think he usually writes his own stuff. He co-wrote it along with another guy. Yeah.
This is how I would have ended this to set up for the sequel.
Oh, it's his same co-writer. Actually, it's his co-writer on all his movies. And he's also the guy who directed Don't Breathe 2.
So they basically just flipped when they did Don't Breathe. This is how I would have ended it to lead it into a sequel. They would have both gotten in their pods. Andy would have been deactivated because he's in sleep mode. She gives birth to a xenomorph in cryostate. So the whole time they're traveling, there's a xenomorph literally incubating in the cryostate because it can't grow in there. It's fucking stuck. So that way, when she does land in, I can't remember what the name of the planet they were going to, Isabella Merced's dead at that point. The xenomorph gets out, and that's how we get the xenomorph to wherever they're at for the next movie. Because now the main question is, if we are going to continue the story with her, how does a xenomorph get there? Because there's no trail of it on the plane right now. Because she got rid of it. That's how I would have ended this movie.
Well, then again, Alien ended with them getting away with no alien on board, and then the Alien 3 started with, oh, yep, there was one on board. So who knows?
Yeah, but at least right now, let's not do that shit. But it's like, unless you find out that she had twins, and then and that's where the other one comes in, which honestly, just for a joke thing, that would have been perfect. But that's how I would have ended it, is that the alien, it wouldn't have been a fucking human baby. It would have been an alien, and she would have given birth in the cryo thing, and Kaylee Spaney would have already been out, and no one would have been able to save her. To add that extra body horror element, that she wasn't asleep, and she had to basically give birth terrified and seeing the thing coming out of her, and then it go at her, and then that's how the movie ends. That's how I would have fucking ended the movie, because I'm like,
no, I wanted them to not do the third act they did. Let Isabel stay alive and pregnant, and like I said, have it be like that's how they produce the queens. It's because a pregnant woman, and I would love to see a new queen just there on the planet that they're on.
I mean, I don't hate that logic either. But yeah, oh God, that third act was so, like, you're just watching. You're like
talking about it now. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to up it to 3.5 because there were a lot of good sequences to it. But then every time I started thinking that, I think back to that third act. I was like, oh, they fucked up that ending so bad.
I just sat there watching it going, you're ruining this movie for me right now. Like, It's good. I'm still not, like, it could have been higher, but you guys are fucking this up right now. So in terms of the Alien films, where do you rank this in your Alien ranking? So there's 7, not counting AVPs. There are actual 7 Alien films. So where would you rank this in your Aliens?
So there are some I need to rewatch to be positive. But as I rank it just now, trying to think of what I do remember about them, it's probably 4th or 5th for me, honestly. Because the first 3...
What's ahead of it? I'm assuming, obviously, Alien and Aliens, but what's...
An Alien 3, I actually really enjoy.
Oh, that's right. You're an Alien 3 fan.
I'm an Alien 3 fan. Alien Resurrection and this are honestly pretty close for me. There are definitely things about Alien Resurrection that I don't like, but there are things I do like about it. Same with this movie. This one probably beats it out just barely. So this one's probably 4th on the list. And then Covenant and Prometheus are at the bottom. Now, again, those I need to rewatch, but I don't see them above this on rewatch. So
what's your order again?
So it'd be Aliens, Alien,
Uh-huh.
Alien 3, this, Resurrection, Covenant, Prometheus.
Gotcha. For me, this is third. I've got Aliens, Alien Romulus, Alien Covenant, then Alien 3, then Prometheus, then Alien Resurrection. I'm sorry, I just can't get through the whole Ripley playing basketball and all that. Oh, God. Even though I like Winona Ryder and people, Alien Resurrection is not good.
See, Covenant's the one that I barely remember. I don't even remember much about the movie at all. So
Covenant immediately jumped up for me because it had Kathleen Waters. Is it Kathleen Waterston?
Catherine, I think.
Catherine Waterston, who I like. We had Michael Fassbender back, and we actually had fucking xenomorphs in that one. So I liked that one immediately better, because of it. But it still had some stupid things like Michael Fassbender playing flute with himself that just like hurt the movie overall. But
see, that's when I think back that Prometheus, I hated the self-importance and honestly, as much as I like Michael Fassbender, those characters and stuff I didn't like. And when I think back to Covenant, the only things I remember about it are Michael Fassbender, and I'm like, I didn't like that, especially the flute thing. Like, ugh.
Yeah, the flute thing's awful. Well, at least with Prometheus, it's got a great cast. It's just self-indulgent BS. But you still have Elba, Theron, Numi, and all them. It's just there's no xenomorphs.
Prometheus is a movie I think I would have really enjoyed if it was not connected to the Alien universe at all.
Yeah, if we weren't expecting fucking xenomorphs through 2.5 hours of this fucking film and never got it, this probably would have been a good just sci-fi thriller. And then you could have like done something like fucking Split, where it's like at the very end you realize this is in the Alien universe. Like, what? And like I feel like that would have dropped more than going, this is how it started. Like, no, this is not how it fucking started, man. Don't promise this. Alien Covenant was kind of how it started. But yeah, it's just anyway.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, that about covers it, I think.
Gotcha. So this week we're nearing the end of the summer movies. We've got The Crow finally coming out. We got Blink Twice. We've got Greedy People, and what were the other 3 that are coming out?
There's one called Strange Darling, and then there's 2 on streaming. There's Netflix's Incoming, and then Peacock has The Killer.
Yeah. So last ditch effort. Even though we got one more week after this, I don't think there's really anything coming out on the 30th.
The 30th has a bunch of small movies. It has 1992. It has Afraid, which is that AI horror movie with John Cho. It has Reagan, Slingshot, and The Wasp. So a lot of small things.
So for at least me and Brian, summer ends this Friday, which means, and I don't know if we're going to have a review for Crow or anything like that. Because I just don't know if I'm going to get to see Crow this week.
I don't see it.
And we're not expecting anything fucking great. Blink Twice, you
and I
chat
about. We'll tell you what we thought about anything that we saw.
Yeah, Blink Twice. I think you and I actually both really want to see it. It's just more. Yeah. You'll definitely see it. It's just more timing for me. Mm-hmm. But what that means is that Brian and I will be back here in the next week or two for our end of summer review. See where we are in our rankings for our summer box office at the beginning of the year. What was some of our favorite movies? What are our biggest disappointments of the summer? And then we will also then be here again for our fall movie preview, where we'll be going over all the remainder of the films coming out through the rest of 2024, our most anticipated for the remainder of the year, what we've liked, what trailers that we did not know for movies that existed at the beginning of the year that we are now excited for now. So we got 2 of those shows coming up here in the next couple weeks. If we see Crow or Blink Twice, we'll pop up on the channel for reviews for that. So we got some stuff coming up here, and then we're going to be entering right into Halloween season again. We got their horror movies. We got all that fun stuff coming. But let us know what you guys thought in the comments below. What did you guys think of Alien Romulus? Did you guys have a big problem with the big third act? Were you guys one of those people who had a big problem with Ian Holmes' cameo? I fucking didn't. Brian was fine with it, but he didn't really think it was needed. Where's this rank in your Alien verse? Where's this rank in your Alien Predator verse? Let us know in the comments below. But until next time, we are the Movie Crusaders. I'm Sean Wascrew. That is Brian Michaels. Until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.